Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to tackle something that might sound a little radical. The idea that popular budgeting hacks could be a waste of your time. You've likely come across countless tips on how to save $2 by skipping your morning latte or using complicated spreadsheets to track every penny. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with being mindful about where your money goes, I'm here to suggest a different perspective. Maybe these so-called hacks aren't all they're cracked up to be. In fact, they could even be holding you back from bigger financial wins. Let's start with the most popular advice out there: cutting small, everyday costs. You've heard it before. Brew your own coffee instead of going to a coffee shop, cook at home instead of ordering takeout, turn off the lights when you leave a room, and so on. On the surface, these tips make sense. If you add up a few dollars saved here and there every day, it seems like it could really move the needle over time. But in practice, the math often doesn't add up to anything substantial. You might save $50 or $100 each month, which is great if you have a very tight budget and need every spare cent. However, if you're in a position to think about larger scale opportunities, like investing in a side hustle, taking a course to advance your career, or even negotiating a raise at work, focusing too hard on these small hacks could actually distract you from more impactful changes. It's not that you shouldn't try to be mindful about daily expenses, but if you're spending hours fussing over a spreadsheet just to track that you saved $3 on groceries, you might be overlooking bigger, more strategic moves. This leads us to the notion of analysis paralysis. Let's say you get really excited about budgeting and decide to track every single transaction down to the penny. At first, it's empowering. Knowledge is power, right? But over time, the process can become a burden. You worry about whether you logged your lunch tip correctly or recorded your Amazon purchase in the right category. You might spend half an hour reconciling receipts from a busy weekend, only to realize that in the grand scheme of your finances, the small discrepancies don't really matter. Meanwhile, that half hour could have been used to build a freelance portfolio, do some professional networking, or even just relax so you have more energy for your next day's work. When budgeting becomes a time-consuming obsession, the emotional and mental toll can outweigh the financial benefits, especially if those benefits are small to begin with. There's also the guilt factor to consider. Budgeting hacks often come with a certain moral pressure, as if any form of spending on something non-essential is a personal failing. We've all been there. Buy a snack you didn't plan on, and suddenly the guilt hits because you blew your daily food budget. This kind of pressure might push people to cut back on things that genuinely enhance their life or well-being. Maybe you skip out on a friend's birthday dinner because it wasn't in the restaurant budget, or you pass on a ticket to a networking conference that could have opened doors for your career. In trying to stay loyal to ultra-detailed budgeting, you might miss out on experiences or opportunities that could pay off down the road, either in financial terms or personal growth. Now let's talk about the bigger financial wins that people often ignore while they're busy perfecting their budget spreadsheets. One of the biggest is negotiating your salary. If you currently have a job, a well-executed salary negotiation could yield a jump in your annual pay that far surpasses anything you could save by clipping coupons. For example, suppose you earn $50,000 a year. If you negotiate a modest 5% raise, that's $2,500 of extra income annually. Compare that to cutting $3 off your daily coffee habit, maybe $1,000 a year saved at most. Which one would have more impact? On top of that, raises compound over time because each raise will be built on top of the higher base salary you secured. Similarly, if you're able to switch to a different company offering a higher salary, you might instantly upgrade your annual income by thousands or even tens of thousands, depending on your role. Another big financial win can come from entrepreneurial ventures. Think about all the mental energy that goes into meticulously tracking every expense. Could that energy be channeled into launching a small side business? Even a modest side hustle might earn you a few $100s a month, which could easily trump the incremental savings of optimizing every single purchase. Plus, if you find a side hustle you enjoy, it can also become a creative outlet or a way to learn new skills. Compare that to a life spent agonizing over spreadsheets to save $1 or $2 where you can. The payoff from even a mildly successful side hustle often eclipses the benefits of strict budgeting hacks. Real estate is another arena where big wins can happen. Suppose you have enough capital or can manage to scrape it together for a down payment on a rental property, or you find an opportunity to house hack by renting out rooms in your home. The potential passive income and property appreciation might far exceed whatever you're saving by micromanaging small daily costs. Of course, real estate carries its own risks and responsibilities, but it's an example of how focusing on larger scale moves could yield more significant financial results. A related angle is investing in yourself. Education or professional development might require an upfront cost that wouldn't pass muster on a strict budgeting spreadsheet, but it could pay huge dividends later. Taking a short course on a high-demand skill, for instance, could help you pivot into a higher-paying position or attract more clients if you're self-employed. While you're trying to keep a tight leash on your grocery budget, you might be ignoring the fact that spending a little more on personal development could multiply your earning potential long-term. People also forget that time is money. Spending endless hours hunting for sales, rummaging through discount bins, or comparing 3 different budgeting apps can sometimes be a net loss if you calculate the value of your time. Sure, if you genuinely enjoy the process, it might be a fun hobby. But if the act of saving a couple of dollars takes up the equivalent of 2 or 3 hours you could have spent on higher value activities, you're effectively paying yourself a very low hourly rate. This is especially relevant if you have the opportunity to bill your time at a decent rate, or if you could use those hours to relax and recharge. Being chronically stressed over tiny money details can hamper your productivity and relationships, which in turn can hurt your long-term earning potential. Then there's the question of sustainability. Ultra-strict budgeting can feel great in the short run. You see results, maybe you stash away a few $100 extra in savings, and you feel in control. But like crash dieting, a hyper-restrictive budget might not be something you can maintain for years on end. It's easy to fall off the wagon, and when you do, the guilt can drive you right back to the habits you were trying to avoid in the first place. There's a risk of burnout if you constantly feel that every financial decision is an exercise in self-denial. A more moderate, flexible system, where you manage key expenses but still allow yourself some freedoms, can be easier to stick with over the long term. When you're able to automate savings and bill payments, set up a broad spending plan, and then focus your time on creating more income or improving your life in other ways, you may find a healthier balance. None of this means that budgeting is useless or that you should never track your spending. There are certainly situations where budgeting is essential, like getting out of debt or stabilizing your finances after a major life change. If you're in a tight spot, every dollar can matter, and a carefully structured budget might be the quickest path to stability. What I'm questioning is the idea that these day-to-day budgeting hacks, cutting out every small indulgence, making 5 different spreadsheets to track expenses, or going to extreme lengths to save pennies, are the best use of your time and energy once you've reached a baseline of financial stability. For many people, that energy would be better spent on bigger picture goals. So where does that leave us? If you find that you thrive on details and truly love the process of budgeting, then by all means continue. There's no shame in finding satisfaction in the discipline. But if you're forcing yourself to follow every hack under the sun and you're still feeling frustrated, it might be time to step back and ask yourself, is this really worth it? Would your hours spent number crunching be better used honing a skill, building a small side business, or researching ways to increase your income? Could you afford that occasional coffee or takeout meal if it means you stay sane and happy and can better channel your energy into bigger financial gains? At the end of the day, personal finance is personal. Some people truly need strict budgets if they're in a financially precarious situation, trying to pay off high-interest debt or living paycheck to paycheck. But if your financial footing is relatively secure and you're still devoting a massive portion of your life to optimizing tiny expenses, you might be missing the forest for the trees. The best budgeting hack is knowing when it's time to invest in yourself, your future, and maybe even a little fun along the way. Thanks for watching. If you found this perspective refreshing, or if it made you question the typical advice, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe for more content that challenges the standard money mantras. Let me know in the comments if you've ever felt overwhelmed by budgeting culture, or if you found bigger financial wins by shifting your focus away from everyday penny pinching. Remember, it's not just about saving money, it's about using it wisely to create the life you actually want. Catch you next time.